So I really got to talk about this because as you're growing your business, as you are marketing yourself or whatever you're doing, right? It doesn't matter if you're building a business, if you're doing fitness, whatever it is. In the beginning, you have to run off your own fuel. Because in the beginning, nothing is happening. Like nothing is there's no results that you see in the beginning. So you have to run off your own fuel. When I was doing restaurant magic, right? So I would go every day. I would walk up to these restaurants and I would basically try to pitch the GMs. I'd try to pitch the general managers in terms of bringing me in as an entertainer. And this, I'm like 15 years old and I'm trying to pitch these GMs. I'm going like door to door to restaurants. And so a lot of people would say no. And so what happened was you start to get demotivated because a lot of people say no. And when I started my entertainment business, I went corporate. I said, you know what, forget the restaurant. I did restaurants for years. I mean, like over a decade, right? And so after a while, I said, you know what? I just want to do corporate. I want to get the high paying gigs. And at this point, I had to contact people. I had to call them. I had to email them. And so I would contact hundreds of people every single day. Almost everyone said no because I didn't have a great website back then either. So almost everyone said no. And then when I started an online business, I started building my business online. I started building a following online. Nobody watched my videos. Nobody bought the products. And so with all of these, the restaurant magic, the corporate entertainment, the corporate speaking, building an online following, with all of these, I had to run off my own fuel in the beginning. Because nobody's going to watch your videos. Nobody's going to click on your links. When you send out a video, there's no one to really send it to. Nobody's going to buy your products. Everyone's going to tell you no. And you're going to get demotivated. What happened is you'll start to look at the stats. You'll look at other people. You'll look at someone who's insanely successful, who's been doing this for years. And you'll say like, man, they got tons of followers. They got tons of likes and comments and all. Oh, I can do the same as them. And you'll look at them and you'll compare yourself to them. And what'll happen is you'll get demotivated. You'll say like, oh man, not even 10 people watch my video. What in the world? And so you have to run off your own fuel almost to a point where you ignore that sort of stuff. In the beginning, it's like you're in this mode of collecting stats. You're in this mode of just collecting information. So in the beginning, you're just saying, you know what? Let me just produce video. Or if you're doing door to door, you're like, all right, let me call people every day. Call, email. And you're not focused on just getting the business right there and then. You're focused on just getting stats. You're focused on getting information, doing it right, creating your videos the right way, or calling people the right way, emailing people the right way. In the beginning, that's what you have to focus on just doing it, just doing the work, focusing on the work. Because when you focus on the end result, the problem is the end result isn't going to come for a year, 2 years, probably 3 years of you doing this thing every single day, over and over, and nobody pays attention to you. None. Zero zippo. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody cares about you. And so in the beginning, you run off your own fuel. And there's this quote. I remember watching Steve Jobs, right? And Steve Jobs, he said this thing. He was like, they say that you have to have a lot of passion for what you do, because if you don't, any rational person would give up. And he said something like that. I don't know if that's exact words, but he's basically said like, look, you have to have a lot of passion for what you do, because if you don't, any rational person would give up. And I completely understood it. As soon as he said it, I said, yup, exactly. Because what happens is you keep doing this thing that you want to do for a living. You keep doing this and you don't see results. And so what happens is most people get demotivated and then they stop. But what Steve Jobs was saying, he's like, look, any rational person would give up, because it's rational. I mean, you're doing it for a year. You don't see anything going on. You're like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this. And so any rational person would give up. But what happens is, because you have a lot of passion for it, because this is what you really want to do, you understand that, hey, you got to run off your own fuel in the beginning. And what happens is you keep doing that over and over, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and eventually something's going to happen. And you're not at the point where it's like the law of attraction. You just sit there and like, oh, I just believe it's going to show up in my life. I just believe in it. I mean, you're not like that. You believe it's going to work because you are doing things to make it work, not because you're sitting there hoping that it's going to happen. And so there's a huge difference. And so just like Steve Jobs said, like you got to have a lot of passion, because if you don't, any rational person would give up. In the beginning, you have to run off your own fuel because nobody pays attention to you. Nobody cares about you, but you got to keep doing it every single day, nonstop for a year, 2 years, despite nobody listening to you, nobody caring about what you do every day. You do it every day just because. And eventually, when you keep adjusting, you keep doing the right things, you do it over and over, eventually you're going to start to see the results. But in the beginning, no matter what you do, you are running off your own fuel.